Okay, hello. We are back. If you joined me for conversations with Carrie earlier, then you know that I was in the kitchen working on preparing a meal to take to somebody who just needs a little added support right now. So I told you I would come back because I was doing more talking than I was doing cooking. We got our flowers done. I'll show you if you're just tuning in. So we've got these pretty little flower arrangement. Isn't that pretty? Ranunculus, some calla lilies. I can't remember what these are called, but anyway, so some pretty stuff. So we've got that done. And I'm putting together the food. So this is what I've done in between because I was talking on the phone, conversations with Carrie. There are a lot of conversations with Carrie. Okay, so I'm doing a chicken. The most important thing right now is getting this in the oven because I want it to be able to take its time cooking. I love a good roasted chicken and it's comforting, isn't it? So I've got this chicken here. I put it in, I was going to season it with you. Okay, so here we go. So what I did for those of you who don't cook and you might need a few tips, these are for you. Now, all of you chefs out there, I'm not talking to you because I know you already know what you're doing. But anyway, I took this whole chicken. Um, of course, start with salt. I use kosher salt, right? So I put salt on both sides of my chicken, put olive oil in the pan down here, and then I put the breast side down on this chicken. I seasoned both sides, okay? So I also have some onions at the bottom. I have a poultry seasoning and salt stuck in the middle of this chicken, okay? You know, you can get those packets at the store that are poultry seasoned. So this has like thyme, sage, probably some parsley, rosemary. I love some fresh herbs. Fresh herbs go a long way. Okay, so salt it, put olive oil on it, and then this is what I use for almost everything that I season. These are my base seasonings: garlic powder, onion powder. If I'm doing chicken, or even vegetarian dishes, I'm going to throw in some cumin. Cumin's great. And then on this chicken, in addition to salt, pepper, onion, garlic, and cumin, I'm also throwing on there some Montreal chicken seasoning. And then I also did a little bit of this rotisserie chicken seasoning. Okay. Don't judge me. If you are judging me, do not judge me. This is how I do it in my kitchen, and everything's going to taste great. Okay. And then I cut some little slits in the chicken. Okay, like you can kind of see, can you see those little garlic pieces? I will stick the garlic into the chicken. I've chopped up some garlic, chop it and put it in, stick it in the slits. I have chopped up some peppers, some bell peppers, and some carrots. So I've got onions, carrots, peppers right now. And then I put a couple of pats of butter for just some extra. So I put a little bit of butter in each end of the chicken, and then I place some butter on top of the chicken. It's going to give it a nice brown. And then I'm going to also throw in here some radishes. If you haven't had roasted radishes, man, they are delicious. So I'm just going to throw a few radishes in here for good measure. Just cut the ends off. I've already washed everything. Throw that in there. My pan is not the biggest, so I am going to have to move things around a little bit. And probably going to add a little bit of chicken broth after this chicken starts cooking, just so the vegetables can soften up and get nice moist. I'm also going to do um, a separate pan of roasted vegetables. I was going to do cauliflower by itself, but I think we'll just do a pot of roasted vegetables. And so we'll throw some of these radishes in there. We'll throw carrots in there, peppers, and season it up real good and add that along, some potatoes, all that good stuff. Okay, so the radishes are going, and I'm going to throw this baby, meaning the chicken, into the oven. I preheated my oven at 400. Okay. And so I'm going to put it in for a couple of minutes. I'm also going to cover it after a few minutes. Um, so we'll leave that in there for like 20 minutes or so. And then I'm probably going to cover it and I might turn the heat up a little bit. I'm kind of on a 2-hour timeline. I know that if you look up how long to cook a roasted chicken, it's not going to tell you 2 hours. But I like to keep it nice and moist and to let it get real nice and tender, fall off the bone. That's Lucy that you hear in the background. She thinks she's protecting us. Okay, so then over here, I'm going to do my roasted vegetables, and I've just put olive oil on the bottom of here. I've thrown in some carrots, and now we're going to add in onions, of course, cauliflower. I'm going to do 2 onions because onions are great. So flavorful. Probably need some new knives, but you know what? These do the trick. So I always cut the end. Again, this is for non-cookers. I always cut the end off of the onions at both ends, and then I cut it in half, and then that helps you to be able to peel it a little bit. And my onion looks like this, right? And because I'm doing roasted vegetables, they don't need to be like sliced. I'm probably going to just cut these into threes, and then I'm going to cut it in half. So I'm going to have like onions like this, you see? Okay. And I'm going to separate them out. We can get all into each other's business, all these vegetables, and get in here together. There is an onion. I'm going to do some more radishes. All I'm going to do to these radishes is cut the edges off, and then I'm going to throw them in. I only have I have 2 aluminum pans. I should have gotten more aluminum pans today. Um, Probably shouldn't have used this one for the vegetables because I am going to do a salmon. We'll do that. How about we do that next? So our chicken is in there baking. I told you I've got it at 400. I'm going to leave it um, uncovered for about 20 minutes or so. I don't know why. I don't have any rule or rhyme or reason to this. It's just how I like to do it. I think because it starts to get the skin, and then I'm going to cover it for an hour. Once I cover it for an hour, I will then uncover it and probably make sure my heat is nice and hot so that we can get that nice crispy skin on the chicken so it gets moist and then crispy. And my girls say that I make the best chicken. So, they're my daughters and they're probably biased and they love their mother, but I have nobody's ever complained, so I guess it's pretty good. And how did I learn to cook? Since you asked. Um, I think I mentioned to you, I'm mixing these all around, right? I'm just getting my hands in there and mixing them because I want to get the olive oil all over it. And I'm going to grab a couple of these multi-carrot colored carrots, just to make things a little bit more exciting. We've got a purple and a yellow carrot. You see these? And I'm going to wash them, but I'm not going to peel them because I like the rusticness of the carrot. So I'm just going to rinse them off really good. Cut the ends off. I don't cook by recipes. And I'm going to go back to telling you where I learned to cook because I know that I just got distracted, but I don't really use recipes. I will use a recipe if there's something that I'm like, oh, I'd really like to cook that, or I have a taste for something like this. And then I'll look up a bunch of recipes and get an idea and then just kind of pull together what I think makes the most sense. Don't be afraid to try doing stuff, right? Just season your food. Don't over salt it, but just season your food because that's what I think happens is people are scared to get some seasoning going and then your food is just not going to taste that good. Um, so what was I saying? Um, Okay, so where did I learn to cook? I've worked in restaurants since I was a kid, so I've always seen food being prepared. And then I've always been kind of just, I'll just try something and I cook and I taste as I cook. If you are cooking and you are not tasting your food, then do not expect it to taste good because how are you going to know? And I think I like cooking. I think that's what I was going to say because I like to season. I like to be able to just. I am kind of a free spirit, and I don't like to follow directions specifically. And I've noticed that baking requires that. And it's a little bit too much pressure for me. I like to just be able to do what I want to do and make something beautiful out of it. I'm getting to understand baking a little bit better. So I do believe that in the near future, I am also going to be able to bake because I'm going to have a better understanding of, you know, of the ingredients so that I don't necessarily have to follow instructions so closely. And I will say this. I don't want you to think that I'm a rebel and I just don't like to follow the rules because although there's a little bit of that, that's true, that's not completely true. The truth of the matter is I find that people's recipes, you follow a recipe to a T, and that recipe is suited to whoever is cooking it to their taste and to their likings, right? And if that's not what you like or what you enjoy, I just find that I make recipes and I'm like, it was okay, but I could have done it better. So, um, just play with recipes, but then don't be afraid of stuff. Don't be afraid to try seasonings. Okay, we're going to put some celery in. Okay, so in my roasted vegetable pile over here, I have onions, tri-colored carrots. I'm going to throw some celery. I'm making these a little bit thinner, not big chunks, because I don't think anybody really likes to eat celery. But celery is going to give it a nice flavor. So I've got onions, tri-colored carrots, radishes, because roasted radishes are delicious. And then I'm going to throw in 3 stalks of celery. And I mean, maybe I'll use all these vegetables. I'm going to do a pot of cabbage. So that's going to be the main vegetable. But even if I don't use all of these would be great for stock afterwards because it's really going to pull some nice flavor together once we season this all up. All right, what else do we want to put in there? Some potatoes. Whoops. Oh, here's my potatoes. Okay, hold on. I'll probably do like maybe, let's see how big these are. We'll do like 5 potatoes. Okay, so I grew up on meat and potatoes, really. So, and all of this that I'm sharing with you about where I learned to cook and stuff like that, I don't want my mother to be watching and to be offended that I did not say that I learned to cook from my mother. Because I learned a lot from my mother, but not necessarily how to cook. And it's not because she's a bad cook. Hold on, let me wash these potatoes off good, okay? Don't you can see me, okay. Um, Let me tell you what I really did learn from my mother. So, as I mentioned before, my dad's a pastor, and we kind of moved a lot, to be honest with you. And so we lived in a lot of different homes that were not our homes, that were like parsonages. If you don't know what a parsonage is, it's like a house that the church has for the pastor. Because where I'm from, pastors don't get paid a lot of money. Um, so a lot of times we would live in a parsonage or housing that was like provided or whatever. And my parents, now this is also back in the day, and my parents and their way of doing things has also evolved. Okay. But my mom always turned whatever home we were in, like whatever house we were in, into a home. And she always hung curtains. She would always paint walls. Sometimes we put up wallpaper, which is a big comeback. I love wallpaper, and you should too. Um, So I really appreciate that from my mom because she always did create a home, right? And my grandmother, my mom's mom, she was a big baker. And that is why I will not forsake baking because my nanny, baking was her thing. And I know we all miss it because at Christmas time, she would do the most beautiful care packages for people. Let me tell you how sweet my grandmother was. I nannied when I was in college for a wonderful family. Shout out to my Barrington, Rhode Island peeps, the Fishers. Love me some Lisa Fisher. I still to this day, I don't get to talk to her, but this woman does not know how much I love her. Well, I hope she does, but I really love her. So we're probably not going to do all those potatoes because it's starting to get to be a lot in there. We'll do one more. So anyway, I nannied in college, and my grandmother, who did all this beautiful baking, I mean, like I don't know how many different items, but like fudge and cookies and squares and everything you can imagine, right? So my grandmother sent them Christmas boxes long until she died, long after I stopped nannying for them. And I just thought, you know what? Grandmother was one of a kind. So really such a blessing, such a sweet thing. So my grandmother baked. My mom, it's not that she didn't cook. She always cooked. We always ate dinner at home. She always had dinner on the table at 5 o'clock. Now my parents like to eat at like 4 o'clock because they're aging. And I know they're probably watching this, but they eat extremely early. I don't know how they make it through the night. They eat so early, like their intermittent fasting is like really on point. Anyway, you know that's what old people do. So, um, it's not that my mom didn't cook; she always had dinner on the table. But we really ate meat, potatoes, and vegetable. That was what we did, which I know is a lot of people. Okay, so my potatoes, all of my vegetables. Here you go. Can you see them? Right now, I just put more olive oil, extra virgin olive oil on it. And like I said, we're going to season everything. So I'm getting all my same seasonings out. I got my salt. I'm going to sprinkle my salt. I am going to go right back with some garlic. I told you that's my try. You know, maybe I should come up with a seasoning. Ooh, I never even thought of that. With my, well, I'm sure somebody else has already made this, but with my three at least. I also loved the girls call this sprinkles. Like, mommy, did you put sprinkles in it? Adobo seasoning. I really like as well. Okay, so I've seasoned all of that up. Now I'm going to also add this roasted vegetable seasoning that I got just because it's fun. I don't use this a lot. Let's see what this has in it. Um, red bell pepper, paprika. Paprika is a good one I usually include in things. I just forgot to grab it. Sugar, onion, soybean, garlic, mustard, black pepper, celery seed, coriander, oregano, cumin, sage. Okay, so good stuff in here. I got this at Home Goods because I am a Home Goods, Home Sense, TJ Maxx, Marshalls. Shout out to my bargain stores. Love them. And so sometimes you can find some really fun stuff in there. So I got this roasted vegetable blend because I thought, let's try it. And so I have sprinkled this. Now, come on, use some seasoning. Season your food. Did I say that already? Season your food. Let me just tell you this. I don't know who's watching this. I know it's a diverse group, but white people, myself included, because I am also Caucasian, we have a reputation of not seasoning our food. So could we please try to step up our game in the kitchen and start seasoning our food? Okay. Thank you. All right, here we go. You can see it like this. Now I'm going to mix it all up, okay? Because we need to get everything love and life together. And I'm using my hands because my hands are clean and it's my kitchen and I'm in my kitchen. And the people who are eating this food are not watching this video. Just kidding. Listen, every good chef gets their food with hands in the thing. My hands are clean. I keep washing my hands all the time. Okay. So I'm just like gathering it all together. And I'm bringing it up from the bottom and some of it's falling out and we won't put those ones back in. because this is not for my family. If it was for my family, we would put it back in. Okay. So now look at the beauty. You see the beauty? You see the beauty? Okay. So I'm going to put this in and just start it. It's almost time for us to cover our chicken. Let's put it in, right in the same heat. And then we'll get started on the cabbage. And then we'll cover this up probably afterwards too. So we'll put this on the bottom. And actually, I don't want to put it on the bottom. I want them to be side by side. So I put my hot, my hot mitts or whatever you call these things. It's someplace I can't remember the other one. All right, so I'm just gonna move my chicken over to the side. I don't know if you can't see this. And then I'm going to add in my vegetables. So they're both on the same thing. And let's just let those babies keep working. Okay. I like to keep a trash bag, like a paper trash bag, like whatever I got for groceries, beside me when I'm cooking. It's just easier. I guess you could just like pull your trash can around. Um, that way you're not making such a mess. If you make a mess in the kitchen, you should clean it up and not let all the good just like, okay, I'm not judging you. I'm just saying it's kind of gross when you go to somebody's kitchen and like everything they've ever cooked, there's a sign that part of whatever they cooked for all of eternity is also on the stove and on the countertops. That's kind of gross. And if you want to, multi-purpose cleaner is your friend. I clean my countertops and my stove with this all the time. You just spray, wipe down, always, always. I love Mrs. Myers. Mrs. Myers. And I use Grove Collaborative. Grove, I think, collaborative, right? If you would like to subscribe to Grove, please inbox me on my website, carrieandclark.com. Just send me a contact and said, hey, yeah, I want the code. I'll get you a discount for Grove. And I'm telling you this because a lot of people will be like, oh, that's too expensive. I don't do that subscription stuff. I do not think that it is too expensive. Number one, you are going to get these products and everything is pretty much clean, like chemical free and stuff. So not only do you get better prices on these products, but then you don't have to go in person to Target to get your cleaning supplies. Now, I know if you go to the dollar store, like some people I know who may be watching who tell me to go to the dollar store for everything, which I just don't do, then maybe you'll get it cheaper. But then you're not going to get these good smelling, wonderful products like Mrs. Myers and all of these. So, okay, so what did I say we're going to do? Now we're going to do cabbage. I am going to turn my stove on. I have a glass top stove and I don't like it. I like gas. If you have gas, I'm a little bit jealous. All right, so I'm going to turn my pot on. I'm going to put some olive oil in the pot and I'm going to get an onion. You see how many onions we are using? Now, Dr. Sebi, I don't know if you know Dr. Sebi. I can't remember exactly where he's from, where he was from. Rest in peace, Dr. Sebi, because he is a wonderful nutritionist. Like food is healing. I really love everything I've ever seen by him. So please look him up. He's got some great things. Now, Dr. Sebi is not a big proponent for onions and garlic. I think they are pretty inflammatory, but I have not developed in that area and quite that much. So I do use a lot of onions. So my onions now, I am going to slice julienne style. Do you know what julienne style is? It's like the thin, long slices. You see this? So this is my onion right here, right? Okay, so that's what I did. I did the same thing, cut my onion ends off, cut the onion in half, and then this onion's like this, and then I'm just going to real gently go ahead, thinly slice my onions. And this is going to be the base. Wouldn't it be terrible if I cut my finger on the video? Okay. Whoops. Dropped one. Okay, so there we go. Oh, that was a good onion. Oh well. Okay. So Onions are a great base. And guess what I'm going to do? I put my onions in. I'm going to sprinkle a little bit of salt. Remember, I think I told you, did I tell you at the beginning of this video or the last one? One of my chefs who I used to work with, he said, season as you go, season everything. Okay. So now we're going to grab our cabbage. This is a big one, a big baby. I do it by cutting the end off, down here first. That's what I do. Then it's flat. I'm going to take the outer layer off because it was on the outside. This is a big cabbage, so I'm just gonna start breaking this baby down because it's gonna be kind of hard to handle for me. It may not be for you. Okay, so I've got my cabbages going in this direction, right? I'm gonna start with this. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut it in half. And so now you can see my two halves like that. And now I'm just going to start cutting it into smaller pieces down. We're going to make some yummy cabbage. Now, I am not one of those people who like has everything cut same size and all that kind of stuff. And I cook for taste, not for presentation. Although I do love presentation on the table, but it's not going to come through my food. I'm not fancy like that. I'm not very fancy. That is just the truth. Okay, so here, let me show you the size. You see my sizes? Okay. So now my onions, can you hear them? It's smelling good in here. I'm not going into the career of cooking shows. I just want to include you in these conversations because I started it and I want to finish it. Okay, so I just stirred my onions. They're looking beautiful. They're smelling good. They're becoming translucent. And now I'm adding some of my cabbage in. This pot is going to get very full because this is a big cabbage, but cabbage, like greens and spinach, it all cooks down. So what I'm going to do this time, I'm going on my next piece of cabbage. I cut it in threes. It's going to be easier. It's the big old cabbage. Now at the food bank, when I was at Crowder Owens Food Bank, let me just tell you how much I love that. We had some beautiful times. Some of my best memories probably in my life will come back to my time at Crowder Owens Food Bank and the Family Life Center because man, I just love people so much. But we would get these sweet potatoes in, and if anybody from there, any of my precious volunteers, remember, we would get these sweet potatoes. I don't know, I showed you this cabbage. This is a big cabbage. This is a third of the piece that I just did. I'm gonna have to cut it in half again. These sweet potatoes would be so big. I'm not kidding you. They'd be bigger than my head. I'm not exaggerating. This is a big cabbage though. So we are putting all this cabbage right in here. You want them to be bite size, right? That's the main thing. You just don't want people to have to like, when you're eating salad and like the salad isn't cut and you've got like the super long salad. All nice bite size, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Now we still got some core here. Can you see this? See this? I'm gonna get rid of this. It's so big, we don't need it, and that's not fun to eat. So let's finish this off. And this should all separate by itself. Yep. Okay, so now what I'm going to do with my cabbage, everybody makes their cabbage differently, but I'm going to give it a little bit more olive oil. I want to make sure my burner, that's what I hate about glass top stoves. They get so hot. Anyway, here we go. More garlic. Lots of it, if you notice. More onion powder. Beautiful. And some adobo. I can't believe I'm giving you my cooking secrets. Oh. And some more salt. And let's get those onions off the bottom because we don't want them to burn. So I turned this down. I would have it on medium if I, like that's what I want, but my stove is not the most dependable, so I've got to kind of keep my eye on it. But it's starting to get soft on the bottom, so you want to pull that up. And then also get the seasoning down in there. And okay, our cabbage is on. We're gonna watch that. It's gonna get soft. The softer it gets, the more it cooks down. Then I will start adding some chicken broth and check it. At some point, we're gonna have to taste some of this, make sure we get enough seasoning going on. Okay, so our chicken is cooking, cabbage is on the stove, vegetables are in, and I was going to make a pot of soup. So let's see. You want to make a pot of soup? I don't know if I'm going to give this to the people, but I've got the pot out, so we might as well. I am going to this is going to be an experiment, so you're along for the ride. I have 2 pieces of chicken that I had seasoning in the fridge yesterday, and it was too much for the girls and I. So it's still marinating in this seasoning right here. So what I'm going to do is I am going to make soup. So while this water is going, you know what I almost forgot until I came over here? The salmon. We're gonna do salmon, but that's easy and it's fast. So let's get the soup going. And the soup will probably stay here. I might send a couple of small containers or something. But I want to use this chicken. I don't want it to go bad, and I'm a little bit over chicken by itself right now because we've been eating a lot of it. And I'm also going to add in there some chicken sausage that I have. And I was kind of thinking of a soup that's kind of like a wedding soup, maybe, like with some white beans. I don't know, whatever it is. It's gonna be good. Okay, so I put water in my pot. Coming over here. I'm gonna turn it on high. We have to salt the water. And then once that starts boiling, we'll put our chicken in there. And let's go ahead and season up the salmon. I just have to decide when I'm going to put the salmon into cook it. I think we will use this over here. All right, while I'm pulling this aluminum foil out for the salmon, I'm going to go ahead and cover the chicken. We want to lock in those juices. Let this dog be barking. All right, so I told you that I was kind of saying something about my kitchen not really being all that fancy for a backdrop, but you know what I've decided, and I feel this way about life in general. If you are going to wait for everything to be perfect before you do anything, keep on waiting, keep on waiting. And fortunately, I am not all that concerned about my image or what people think about me. I mean, I do care about what people think about me. I do, but not to the point where I'm going to let it stop my life. I'd be lying if I said I didn't care what people think about me. But because also I am a little bit of I'm a recovering people pleaser. Um, but I am not going to keep people out of my house because it's not exactly what I want it to be. Because that is not what is most important to me. So we covered our chicken. We're gonna keep on cooking. You hear this cabbage? Beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Now you don't want this cabbage and the onions to burn. It's going to ruin the whole pot if it does. So, but it is browning. I like that, and it's getting translucent. So I'm probably going to start putting a little bit of um, chicken broth in there. So I have one that's already open. I'm going to use that first. I'm also going to add some carrots in there. Am I? Maybe not. We'll just do this. All right, that's going to take the pressure off. I'm not going to have to worry about that burning. And you know what? I didn't put cauliflower in my roasted vegetables. That's all right. I do have a lot going on, so we have our cabbage on. I'm going to cover that. I probably am going to add carrots. People like carrots in there. Carrots in their cabbage, even if it's just for looks. Now, I don't have any orange carrots left. For this, I am going to peel it. First, I'm going to peel the carrot, and then I'm going to put shavings of carrots in there. So I have this Cocker Spaniel over here. I've always been a lab girl. Those of you, if anybody's watching, if you know me, you know that I had my Chloe girl for a very long time, 16 years. That dog was the bomb diggity. And she passed away after a good long life. I love that dog so much. I wish I had her for my girls, but of course the kids wanted a dog, and I I wanted them to have one. So we got Lucy, Cocker Spaniel. Now, let me just tell you, the funny thing is that I dreamt of having a Cocker Spaniel when I was a little. That's what I always dreamed of having. And look at what the Lord has done. Lucy is not like a lab, very different temperament, kind of a small dog. I've never had a small dog before. She's pretty naughty and she's pretty stubborn. She's very sweet. The girls absolutely love her, but she definitely gets on my nerves. So I assume that by the time she gets older and she starts acting right, we will have a very good relationship. But we're not there yet. Okay, so I was going to shave these, but I decided not to. I just cut these small. Let me see, like this carrots. I'm just throwing these in to the cabbage. But I appreciate you watching. If you are watching, I thank you for staying this long. I am not going to keep you through this whole time, but I figured we could finish this up so that you could learn something if you don't cook. If you do, then maybe you just wanted to visit with me. And for that, I am grateful. So, okay, let's do this salmon. Okay, let me wash my cutting board out a bit. And let me get this pan. And we are going to cover this pan with aluminum foil. The water is almost boiling for this soup. Okay, of course, I'm going to put olive oil on the bottom for our salmon. I've got this big old piece of salmon here. And see this baby? Woo! a little slippery, this guy. I'll put a little bit more olive oil. Actually, what I'm going to do, because I don't feel like washing my hands again right now, I put him down skin first, skin down, and it sopped up this olive oil. Can you see? And now I'm just going to flip it over a little bit and then flip it again. So we'll have a little bit of olive oil coating on the salmon. Um, what I'm going to do with the salmon is I am going to do jerk. If you are not familiar with jerk, you should be. If you like spicy. But before we do that, our water is boiling. So let's drop these chicken pieces in. It's only two, it's just a drumstick and a thigh. But this is not going to be our main source of meat. Not a good idea to do it how I'm doing it right now because it's probably going to splash. But it's my kitchen. And you might want to open the bag before you do that. That's probably why it's coming out. Okay. So we'll let that chicken start cooking and then I'll throw in the sausage and the beans and onions and what else am I gonna put in there? Navy beans, and maybe we'll put some cauliflower. I mean, celery and not cauliflower. All right, here we go. We're gonna do some jerk chicken. I mean, salmon. Jerk salmon is good. Jerk is a Caribbean seasoning. I'm not gonna act like I know all about this because I don't. But I do love Caribbean food and I do love some good jerk chicken. And that chef that I worked with, he beat Bobby Flay with jerk chicken. And he told me, he said, if you want to make jerk chicken at home and you're not going to make it completely from scratch, go get Walker's Wood traditional Jamaican jerk seasoning. We're going to do the mild, but they also have spicy. And listen, if you haven't tried it, you should because it is delicious. And this is going to be fantastic. It is a little bit salty, so I'm not going to put a lot of salt. I'm going to sprinkle a little bit of adobo. Adobo has salt in it, but it's not going to be too salty because I don't want this to be too salty. Then I am going to take out some of this jerk. I'm going to put probably two good dollops on this salmon, and I'm just going to brush it over it with my spoon, rub it in. Geesh, I don't know what I'm having for dinner tonight. Hopefully some stuff will fall off while I'm cooking. I know a lot of you are in a fast. I'm actually doing a fast too. A lot of you are not doing meat and different things like that. I am able to do that. I'm doing till sundown, so different. Everybody's doing something different, and it's a wonderful thing to do to start your year off. We listened to a really good video on fasting and understanding that you're basically just saying, Lord, you are more important to me than my body and this temple I give to you, and I'm going to sacrifice it. Have your way in me, Father, Holy Spirit. And I also felt a little convicted. I don't really think I fasted as much as I would like to last year. So we're going to start the year off right. And I can hear this needs to be stirred. All my stuff is gone already. My broth. So I'm just going to put this whole thing in it and then I'm going to cover it. Usually I do most of my grocery shopping at Wegmans. I don't usually use Swanson brand because I guess they probably have it there, but I usually use Wegmans. I'm going to cover this cabbage and it's just going to cook until its little heart's content. Not the right side of the cover, but whatever, it works. Okay, the salmon, this is it right here. Okay, and I'm going to put it in the oven. I don't think I'm going to put it in now, though. Or I could put it in and then just take it out, but I probably won't put it in now. So we'll set this aside. We'll set this over here and finish what we need to finish for this soup. Let's go ahead and chop up some onion. You already know how to chop an onion now. because I said take the ends off. So let's do that. Now this one's going to get a chop. So far we have sliced, we have chunked. I don't think that's a culinary term, chunked, but you know what? Now I understand why Tabitha Brown says the little sayings that she says, like this is how she wants to do it. I can't remember what her saying is. You have inspired me, Tabitha, because now I understand why you say it. 'Cause I'm saying the same thing. It's my kitchen. If that's how I want to do it, that's how I'm going to do it. So with these, I slice the onion and now I'm going to do small little diced. I'm going to dice these. Um, and we might as well throw these onions in for flavor. There we go. I'm going to put the whole onion in. And then I'm going to put probably maybe 2 pieces of celery. And I've got some parsley, so I guess that's what we'll put in as our herb, but we won't do that till later. So we've got our diced. So my 2 chicken pieces are in there boiling, right? I seasoned those similar to how I did this whole chicken, probably. And again, I told you I do everything with salt, onion, garlic. That's my base. And then that has cumin, paprika, and some rotisserie seasoning. So now we've got our diced onion, and we're going to do 2 stalks of celery. Wash these babies off. And you know what else I'm going to do? I'm going to throw in a good, healthy dollop of minced garlic. By healthy dollop, this is what I mean. That just went into my stock. And the water's salted, the chicken is seasoned. And I'm not going to really like start seasoning that a ton more outside of my regular trio until everything starts coming together. You can't judge soup right away. You got to wait till all the flavors of what you put in there come together. Chicken, the celery, the onions. I think I told you I'm going to put those white beans in there shortly. And then I think I might put some cabbage. I wanted to put, oh, you know what? I think I have spinach. I think I'm going to put spinach. The evolution of Carrie's kitchen. You know, this is a first. There's a first for everything. So thank you guys. Thanks for being here with me today. This is kind of fun. I'm enjoying it. And you know what? My girls are not here today. So it gives me somebody to talk to. Not that I don't have anything going on. I have lots going on. It's been a very busy day in case you're inquiring. But I'm social. I'm social. And you know, that's one of the drawbacks of not living near family. I was telling a girlfriend of mine, a lot of my good friends live in DC, and then another good friend lives in the county over. So I don't have anybody nearby who I can just like go plop on their couch or them just come plop on my couch and us hang out. So if you're out there and we know each other already and we're already friends, no new friends are coming over to my house to plop on my couch because I don't know you and that would be weird. But any of my friends who I already have, my door is always open to you and I love for people to come over. So come on over. Okay. The celery is in. Now let's go ahead and get our beans in. And then we're not going to have anything else to do. So I'm going to let you go after this and we're going to wait for everything to cook. And then what I'll do, if I knew how to edit videos, which I don't yet, and I know I can look on YouTube to figure it out, and I'm sure somebody has already put step by steps, but I am not a millennial. So it takes a little bit more of an unnatural, intentional effort for me to do that. So when I figure out how to edit a video, I guess we could put all of this together and then I could just edit in the finished product. But that might not happen, so you might get a third video. I don't know. Maybe I'll figure it out. Maybe that's the challenge now. My can opener is really not the best. So let me say something to you of significance while we're doing this. Well, they probably need a new can opener. So we're going to have to scoop this up with a spoon a little bit. Oh, drain and rinse. All right. I was talking to my dad today, and I was telling him about some of my business, um, I don't want to say adventures, my business endeavors. And we were talking about some things, and I just was like thinking about, I wonder why I respond this way to certain things. And, life and your experience is really like sometimes we don't even know if you're not like aware, self-awareness is really important because when you're not aware of why you respond, if you just respond to things and you just think that's the way that you are, and you're not aware that maybe that response is not necessarily the most healthy response or it's not necessary, it's not a necessary response, that awareness allows you to kind of dive into it. So I'm working on this one business endeavor and I started getting a little bit like antsy, like, oh gosh, and I realized I was starting to feel a little controlled and it was a little bit of a trigger for me. And so I was thinking, I'm just gonna like, I was like ready to pedal all the way backwards, like, oh, I don't know if I'm really interested in being in this because it was starting to feel a little bit uncomfortable to me, not because the other person did anything wrong, but basically because I was starting to do something that I knew I didn't want to do and that it wasn't my best, it wasn't what I best could add to the equation, right? It wasn't like where I brought the most value. And so I started feeling a little boxed in because it's not, I wasn't operating in my gift. And so I was able to kind of look at it and make myself aware, okay, you've had some situations in your past where controlling, like you don't have to run from something just because it's triggering, right? But you can work through it and you can kind of figure out what caused that and then understand that. So I mentioned to you I was a people pleaser. It is okay for you to do what you want to do and not what everybody else wants to do. Um, so we had a really good talk about it. It was good. It was growing and I'm being stretched. So whenever I'm talking to all of you about some of these things, listen, the stretch is happening here first. So I just encourage you, like, if you find yourself responding to certain things in a certain way, you don't have to just abort the mission, right? You can dive in, see why am I feeling this way? What do I really want to be happening? What direction do I really want? And speak up and say what you want to do first. Because maybe people aren't intending to control you or to put something around you. Maybe they just think, maybe that's the way they do it. And so then you respond to it and it could be, you could miss out on something basically is what I'm saying. So I think I was able to kind of like regroup and be like, oh no, you know what I need to do? I just need to be, and that's what I did today. I was just really clear. Listen, this is what I bring to the table. This is where you're going to get the best version of me. And this is all that I have the capacity to give to you. I can't reinvent something right now because this is where I'm at. And it all worked out. So do that. That's my boss tip for the day. All right, we're gonna everything's going. The cabbage, I don't know if you can see it over here. The cabbage is working its way. Chicken's gonna be in there cooking for a while. Our vegetables are starting to brown. I'm probably gonna pour some broth over those and cover them up so they can get nice and moist and cooked through. And our salmon, I did not put in. I set it over there. I'll do that. That's only gonna take like, I'll probably put that in for like 30 minutes. So I'll come back and let you see everything. And I hope this made you hungry. I hope you learned something. And if you want to critique my cooking, I'm not really interested, but you can anyway. It's fine. All right. I hope to hear from you all soon. Subscribe to this channel. If my girls were here, they would say subscribe below, but they think my videos are boring. So bye.